I have to do general physics anyway.
If you're doing physics,
it's the same class.
Yeah, it's just way harder in
if you're
college.
doing physics next year, would you do college algebra too?
Why would you do college algebra?
I don't know.
Calculus, you can't do calculus and college algebra.
You're not gonna have room to do all of
You
it.
don't have room to do all this. Do you not want to study hall 1 year of your life? Like, what the heck?
Hey, if I can get as many classes as I can
Yeah,
before
once
college, I'm okay with that.
Once I hope to be like accepted and like committed to a college by like beginning of next year. Like, I don't want to be stressed on my senior year.
Right. Oh, that's the full time.
Solving inequalities algebraically and graphically.
I'm just gonna write solving inequalities. So I ran out of room.
It's graphically on a calculator.
No, like this kind of graph.
Oh.
Oh.
Okay, I
Oh.
thought it was like fancy graph.
All right. Number 2.
Oh yeah, 'cause it's inequality.
The absolute value of 2x minus 1 is greater than 3.6. So when we have inequalities in absolute value, what do we have to do?
Absolute value it.
Make it
Um,
positive.
Okay, so
Make it positive. Okay, but
if absolute value is less than,
how many equations or how many times am I going to have to solve it?
Twice.
Twice.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first time it's exactly copied down 2x minus 1 greater than 3.6. And what is the other one going to be?
Plus 1.
No.
Less
Oh,
than
yeah.
1. I
Less
mean,
than-
less than
less than
3.6.
Yeah, guys. No, guys.
Almost.
no.
2x minus 1 less than or equal to 3.6.
Negative 3.6.
Oh.
Oh, shucks.
So when you do the other one, think about it as like when you divide by a negative, how you flip the sign. That's kind of how I like try to remember it, is like make it
Oh.
negative or switch the sign. If it was negative to begin with, the other one's going to be positive and flip the sign
It's
over.
almost like an opposite inverse kind of thing.
Kinda, yeah.
You make that sound real fancy.
All right, so solve the first one. What is this?
Okay, so we add 1, so it's 2x greater than 4.6. Then we divide by 2, so then it's
Look at how
x
enthusiastic
greater
you
than
are.
2.3.
Great.
I was like,
How about the other one?
Yeah, because I was good at that. So now it's 2x less than negative 2.6. So then we divide by 2, and then it's x less than negative 1.3.
Okay, so I would rewrite them. Why is that x so much higher than everything? I would rewrite them in the correct order. So I would do x is less than negative 1.3, or this is an or problem, x is greater than 2.3. It says to write the solution in interval notation, though. So what does that mean? Also, somebody remind me to give y'all's quizzes back when we're done, because I keep forgetting to give them back to you.
Yeah, I really want that.
Just sitting up there.
Interval notation is when the x is in the middle. So like, oh, that's wrong. Okay. Then I don't know. You tell me, please.
Negative infinity to negative 1.3, union 2.3 to infinity.
What the heck? That's not an infinity sign. I'm not. No one knows the truth.
Oh yeah, I don't.
My infinity signs are terrible. I don't understand why it's just a silent
Wait a
eight.
minute. When did we learn that? I'm looking. Was it in the second sentence that we learned? I don't know.
In interval notation, we talked about that a couple sections ago.
Isn't it like P1?
Well, I forgot.
Yeah.
So.
I think it's
Oh,
the
you said
P1.
P1.
Yeah. What's the U for?
Union.
Well, I know how to write it down on the number line. I know that.
Well, how do I do that then?
Yeah, you tell us.
Dang it, you asked me now.
Well, you said you know.
You
how
said
to-
you knew.
Well.
You see.
You see here.
So, the negative 1.3, that's like it's a
Yeah?
parentheses.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the 2.3 is also a parentheses, but it's going the other way. Like that.
So the interval notation helps you to be able to graph it, because the interval notation tells you if it's a parentheses or a bracket. and then you just write it down.
Okay.
And if you have trouble with interval notation, you could always graph it first, and then that will help you get the other part. Same instructions, number 8. The absolute value of x minus 5 over 4 less than or equal to 6. So what are the two that I have to set up here?
X minus 5. Why did I say 4? Over
5.
4 greater than or equal to 6.
Less than or equal to 6.
That's what I meant. Then the other one would be x minus 5 over 4 greater than or equal to negative 6.
Yes. So how do I solve?
Maybe write it down first.
Okay, take your time.
You can multiply each side by 4 and get rid of the 1 off.
Yes.
Can do that.
I'm going to go ahead and do it on both of them, because why not?
24, okay. And then we can add the 5 to both. So then it's x is less than or equal to 29, or x is greater than or equal to negative 19.
So writing them in the right order, what is that going to give you?
X is greater than or less, equal to, greater than or equal to negative 19, right, and then x is less than or equal to 29.
So what kind of problem is this, actually? If x is greater than negative 19 and less than 29, it's not an or problem, it's a and problem. So it would be negative 19 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 29. So then in interval notation, how would we write that?
Parentheses. Negative.
All right, pause. Graph it first. How do you graph it?
Okay.
Let's do that first.
Okay.
How would you tell me to graph this particular problem?
Bracket. Opening.
Negative.
So bracket on the 19, like opening towards 0, and then
Like that?
and then same thing on 29, but opening towards.
Like that?
Yeah.
And then filling in.
I don't know how to describe it easily.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So then, your interval notation is just bracket 19, comma 29, bracket. So you can just read it off your graph. So if you prefer the graphing, like if you know how to graph it first, then write it in interval
And
notation.
negative 19.
Facts.
Is that a cooking point? It's a
Finally got one.
Yay.
Yo, I did it, guys.
We were almost in the last class if we get one.
Algebra 1A has not gotten one.
They're quiet, so they're probably not likely to get one. Because they're probably not likely to try to tell me that I did something wrong.
Scared.
Okay. Any questions about those ones? No. Okay. Great. Solve the inequality. Use algebra to solve the corresponding equation.
I will.
And it doesn't say it, but your answer is going to be written in interval notation like this. So number 10, bless you. 6x squared minus 13x, bless you, plus 6 is greater than or equal to 0. So to solve this, I need to factor first. So how would I factor?
You do the arc method.
Did you say arc or arch?
I said arc. Is it arch? No, I said arc. My bad.
Ethan has this like fancy way that he does these. It's like super cool, but I'm not going to confuse you if you've done it a different way the whole time. But it's just a cool method that, I don't know. I think it might actually make it a little bit easier, but
You should tell us.
I just want to see.
Yeah, just.
Then you can do
Yeah.
arc.
I'll show you after. Because it'll just be easier if I go back to the one that we did. Because it's like, it's semi-confusing until you've done it a couple times, and it's been a little bit since I did it. So I'm just like the other day I literally was like, no, I'm just going to use my method. All right, so factors of 36, that add up to give you negative 13.
Let's see. 9 and 4.
And positive, negative,
Both negative.
both negative, so negative 9, negative 4. So 6x squared minus 9x minus 4x plus 6 greater than or equal to 0.
That's oops again.
What should I take out?
You take out the 3x.
Leaves you with
3x.
2x.
That's what I said.
Minus 3.
3.
Take out, you can take out the 2.
I'm gonna need something else with it
Negative
Plus.
to make it the same.
Oh,
So 2x minus greater than or equal to 0.
So then 3x minus 2 times 2x minus 3 is greater than or equal to 0. So just like if it was just an equal to problem, we take each piece and set it greater than or equal to 0. So 3x minus 2 is greater than or equal to 0. 2x minus 3 is greater than or equal to 0. So what are those equal to?
They equal to
2/3.
x
2/3.
equals 2/3. And x is greater than or equal to 3 2s. I don't know why I said it like that, but so that would be in
So then we have to do the thing. Oh wait.
well they're both greater.
That's what you said.
Yeah. So
Something's wrong with this
I
problem.
was like, they can't.
Well, no.
Is there something
How
wrong?
did I think?
No, like, those are the numbers that it's supposed to be, but the answer in the book is negative infinity, comma, 2/3, which would mean that anything in that range, but that can't be true because it can't be anything less than that. And then it's union.
maybe the book made a mistake.
That's what I'm thinking.
He did say it had a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, I think you should look it up.
Because really, Well, they do have these as brackets, because I was going to say that these are supposed to be brackets at a minimum. Technically, anything greater than or equal to 2/3, because 3/2 is bigger than that, will make that true. Wait a second. Hold on. I know why. So if you take a value out of here and you plug it in up here, it's going to give you a true statement.
So,
I see.
do you see?
I do see.
Like if you took, because 0 is in this interval, right? So if you took 0 and you plugged it in up here, all this becomes 0. 6 is greater than or equal to 0.
That's true.
This number being squared is going to make this bigger than whatever this could end up being.
Yeah.
So that's why you would have to test a point to know that, as long as you get to here with a problem like this one. That would be fine.
So
This section is just a very weird section, because
I'm
this isn't
trying-
typically how you would do this.
so why is it like unbounded? Why is it an infinity?
Because basically any number that you choose in this, like in this region that you pick, is going to make this be true. This statement
So
be
like,
true.
how do you know without testing that it's infinity?
You wouldn't. You
You
would just
have-
have to test something.
No, I meant like, because we didn't have to test anything in the first problem we did that had infinity. So, I don't know.
Those were absolute value ones.
Okay, so in a problem like that, you would have to test like 1,000 times.
I typically don't do as much with this section because it's so weird.
Okay, because I was like.
Because if you got to this, I'd be okay. The next one that we do is going to be a lot easier. It's because this is not how you would normally solve these problems, like at all. So if you can solve it, if the answer thing is wrong, it's fine. I forgot this is that section that they're like really weird, and it's like,
That's why the notes are so short.
yeah, pretty much.
The
All right.
tricks.
14. 21 plus 4x minus x squared is greater than 0. So with a problem like this, I would rewrite it in the right order, descending order, before you start to factor it. So negative x squared plus 4x plus 21 is greater than 0. So how did you factor this one?
7.
And positive, negative.
The 7. I mean, no, the 3, yeah.
3 is negative, so negative x squared minus 3x plus 7x plus 21. And you could technically flip the 3x and the 7x, or the negative 3x and the 7x. It doesn't matter. I just wanted the negatives together. Is why I did that. So grouping, what can you take out?
Negative x.
So that leaves you with x plus 3. Can I take out the other one?
7. So plus 7.
Do with x plus 3. So negative x plus 7 times x plus 3 greater than 0.
Settle. And then do the thing.
Separate into 2.
Negative x plus 7 is greater than 0. X plus 3 is greater than 0. So what does this give you?
It gives us
Make sure you pay
X
attention to
is
sign.
less
than
than
neg.
7. X
Yes.
is less.
X is less than 7.
And then X is greater than -3.
Okay, so X is greater than -3 and less than 7. So it would be -3 less than X less than 7. So then in interval notation, it would be what?
Oh.
Parentheses, -3, 7.
Yep. So see what I mean? Like some of them are like they make sense, and then the other one if you have, that's the thing, like with the other one, because you have two values where they're like both going the same direction, that's why you have to like test them. It's super weird. Don't stress out about them that much. They're super weird. Solve the inequality graphically. I just want you to solve it, not graphically. So 4x squared minus 1 is less than or equal to 0. So how would I solve this?
Add 1 to
Add 1.
So 4x squared is less than or equal to 1.
And then divide by 4.
X squared is less than or equal to 1/4.
And then take the square. Wait, take the square root.
Which gives you what?
X.
Plus x equals less.
Less
X
than or equal.
less than or equal to
Positive.
plus or minus square root negative of the 1/4.
And because of it's just another rule, when you have the -1, you're going to flip the sign on it as well. So you're going to end up with x is less than or equal to 1/2, okay, because that's the square root of 1/4. And x is greater than or equal to -1/2. So you'd have -1/2 to 1/2 in the brackets for that. And that's just like when you take the square root, it's the same thing like when you like multiply or divide by like a negative across. Okay. The word problem one, it's not that bad, I promise. It's an equality, not an inequality. So we're going to do it really quick. And then we'll be done with this section because, yeah, it's just... All right. A projectile is launched straight up from ground level with an initial velocity of 272 feet per second. Okay? When will the projectile's height above the ground be 960 feet? When will the projectile's height above the ground be more than 960 feet? And then when will the projectile's height above the ground be less than or equal to 960 feet? Kind of is. So the initial height, okay, the initial velocity. So the book, I think, uses v sub I when they do stuff. In physics, I would say v sub 0 for initial, but these mean the same thing. These are literally the exact same. Okay, so I don't care which one you use. But that would be equal to 272 feet per second. Now, a formula that they did not give you is the, well, they give it to you, but it's like back in the notes, and I don't think I put it in your notes for you. But it's in the example 8, I think, where they give it to you. Is that where they give it to you? It's got to be in here somewhere. Oh. I didn't give you the projectile motion equation in your notes, did I? Okay. So the equation for projectile motion is S is equal to -16 t squared plus v sub 0 t plus s sub 0. This is the projectile motion equation. Where t t is in seconds. V sub 0, okay, which is the initial velocity, is in feet per second. And then S sub 0 is the position which is feet, what is happening, above the ground. So the first thing says, when will the projectile's height above the ground be 960 feet? So we plug that into our equation, and we're going to set it equal to 0 to solve for it. So we're going to have negative 16t squared plus the initial velocity, 272t minus 960, hold on, brief pause. That's why I said brief pause. Okay, when the projectile's height above the ground is 960 feet. So, back up. 1 second. I'm gonna pull a Willy Wonka. Back up, reverse, restart. Okay. It's been a while. I'm not teaching physics this year. Normally, I have already taught this in physics by the time, so I'm ready to just roll. I need a minute. Okay. In this equation, our S sub 0 is 0 because our initial height is 0. Okay, so our S sub 0, the initial position, because it's starting from the ground, is equal to 0. S was given to us in the problem, and it said when the projectile's height above the ground is 960 feet, and then our initial velocity is this 272 feet per second. Okay, so that's all given information. Okay, now we can proceed. So plug in the 960, so 960 equals negative 16 t squared plus 272 t. Since the initial position is 0, I can just ignore it. Okay. I'm going to subtract this 960 over, so 0 equals negative 16 t squared plus 272 t minus 960. Now, you may not know this, but you can take a negative 16 out of everything. You can take my word for it, I promise. So 0, take out a negative 16. That leaves you a t squared minus 17t plus 60. Now, I can, because it's set equal to 0, I can get rid of that negative 16, because if I divide by negative 16, 0 divided by negative 16 is 0, so it's just gone. So you're essentially canceling that out. Now, the left side's still equal to 0. So you have 0 is equal to t squared minus 17t plus 60. Now we just factor and solve. So what would this factor into?
20 and 3.
Wait, negative 20 and 3.
Give me a minute.
Is this one of the... Try a different set of numbers. Yeah, doesn't work because this is positive. I was sitting there and I was like, wait, those numbers 20 and 3 work, but not with positive 60. There's two numbers that, when multiplied together, do give you 60. That,
12 and 5.
yeah, and both are going to be negative to make this negative, but this positive. So t minus 12, t minus 5 equals 0. So t is equal to what? I'm just not writing a step.
12 and 5.
So t equals 12 seconds, or t equals 5 seconds. So it says, when will the projectile's height above the ground be 960 feet? So it would be on the way up when, why is this not working? T equals 5 seconds when it's going up, and t equals 12 seconds when it's coming down. Okay, as long as you have the 5 and the 12, I wouldn't expect you to necessarily get the up and the down thing.
Yeah, like how do you figure
How do
that
you
out?
figure, oh, that one's going up, that one?
Well, I'll show you. I'll draw a picture. So projectile motion, something like this, okay? So it's going to look like a parabola. That's why it's squared. So at 960 feet, we're going to say this is 960 feet here. So on the way up, it's at 960 there, and on the way down, it's over here. So the first time is going to be on the way up, and the second time is going to be on the way down. That's all. So then from the math that we did, we can answer B and C. So B says, when will the projectile's height above the ground be more than 960 feet?
So that was just the
More
answer
than
to A, right?
6.
Yeah, that was A. So when would it be greater than 960 feet?
At 6. Or like greater.
Anything
Any.
between 5 and
Anything
12.
Yeah,
Yeah.
anything between 5 and 12, not including that. So it would be 5 to 12. The interval from 5 to 12. And then when would it be less than 960 feet? So we've shown when it's equal to 960 feet. That was at 5 seconds and 12 seconds. It was greater than from 5 to 12 seconds, not including those. So when would it be less
So would
than?
it be like
1.
5?
Yeah. Or would it be 0 to 4? Or
0 to 5. Should be not including, technically. Oh, it says less than or equal. Sorry. It is going to be including. I missed the or equal to part. Always good to look at the actual question. When else would it be?
It's 12,
12 and 0.
Huh?
I don't know.
Or is it 5 and 0?
Well, so right now we've accounted for this part.
Yes.
So we've got to account for this part. So what was this number of seconds here?
12.
So this is 12 to
0.
0 seconds. If something about parabolic motion,
12 to 7.
okay,
T.
yes. So if this is 5 seconds, this also has to be 5 seconds.
So 12 to 7.
Oh, okay.
That's confusing.
So that's kind of like physics stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what is
If this looks hard, don't just not take physics, because I promise it's not all like this. And the more you do of them, I promise the more it makes sense. It's just takes a little bit.
Wait,
I mean,
was
I can
was that
see
B
where
still,
it
or
could
was that C?
maybe make
Was
sense.
that-
Oh, sorry, this was part C,
Okay.
Okay, I was like, oh no.
which was less than or equal to 960 feet.
I can understand how maybe it might make sense to someone.
So what I'm going to do is I am going to give you one identical to this. It's an odd one for you to try. Literally the questions are exactly the same for it. It's just the numbers are different. So the formula is the same. The only thing that's changing is the height that they're wanting you to look at it for. Okay. I don't think I would put one of these on the test or quiz unless it is extra credit. Okay. Or if I build in extra points to the test or whatever.
So explain one more time why it's 12 seconds down and 5 seconds up.
It has to take more time for it to come down.
So when you look at the
It's
parabolic motion,
It's like 1, 2,
okay,
3,
to
4.
get to this 960 feet, 960 feet is the same if you're standing here or you're over there, right? So how long does it take to hit that? Think about the first hill on Apollo's chariot. Okay,
Yeah.
minus the little weird hump. Pretend that it's actually parabolic. Okay, to get up to a certain spot, okay, more like if it was launched, but to get to a certain spot, it takes so many seconds to get there. Then it's going to go over that spot, but then on the way down, you're going to hit that spot
Okay.
again. So,
So you're counting the little hump at the top.
yes. So, ignore, 0 to 5 seconds to get here. Then it's 5 to 12 seconds to get here from the math that we figured out. So then on the way down, there's 5 more seconds. That's why we're getting that.
Okay.
Now, that's if something's being thrown, like on a roller coaster. Obviously, you're picking up speed as you're going over the hill because they're you're chugging along. So it's a little bit different, but just to think about the motion of it. That's what's going on. So your problems are 1, 5, 7, 9, 24, and 33. And yes, that's an even one, but I'm trying to give you something that's relatively similar to 20, which is why it's an even one. Let me just